reliable home networks. Home networking, but I'm going to particularly emphasize the reliable side. For those that are on, can give me a thumbs up if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Okay, good, good. I'm Wayne Mertz. I've been a member for 4 years of Naples Mac Friends user group. And as I mentioned, reliable home networks mean that they are easy, they're fast, they are stable, not quite like Zoom today. And because it's important because actually they're going to be replacing cable boxes very soon. I got to change something here. I can't change, well, okay. Well, that's strange. This is, okay. There's going to be big changes in this year and next year and following that with regard to a 5G, Wi-Fi 6, as well as ATSC 3.0, and I'll explain those after the chat. I'm going to respond to chat questions after slide 16, and queue up your questions in the chat, enter that, and ask your questions, and then we'll respond at slide 16. I got about 26 slides overall. These slides are a bit different than what I had forwarded to Marty Eckert in advance of this. I did that Saturday, but I made some changes, so bear with me. Not sure how you download them, but hopefully everybody that wanted them got them. Local area networks. When they first came out 25, 30 years ago, they were mainly for business and they were wired. Some people may remember the term of ArcNet, and then later on Ethernet, and that was strictly for business, but it's worked its way into home networks. Ethernet has, and that's pretty much the gold standard now with regard to wired networks. Then came Wi-Fi 10, 15 years ago, and soon we'll be doing more with cellular for local area networks. Some may remember this. I don't know, you can raise your hand, but this is old stuff, and I remember working with this at the companies I've been involved with. And I'll see if we can do this. You can listen to this. This ugly sound. Get out of this. Oh, lost. Now I gotta talking. Sorry about that. Let's see. New share. Share. Having a little trouble this time.
Slide your cursor down to the bottom and it'll come up. Is it
Yeah,
vanishing?
let's see. Here we go. New share. All right, let's see. You should be able to get it here. Wait, it's trickier this time. Try that. There we go. Y'all see that? You got that? Yeah? No?
Yep, yep.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thanks. So the internet has made constant improvements. The local area networks have piggybacked on that, and security is much better, except for today. QoS, the quality of service, the way these routers are, you're able to dig down and go deep into the service, the features of the router, and set them the way you want them, and of course, much faster speeds. I want to get into the components, and hopefully you all are going to see this. Show you the components of a local area network. This is a modem, and this is by Aris. It's a typical modem. It's a higher speed one, DOCSIS 3.1, and the internet comes into your home right through there. That's a cable, and it's a typical cable that you get from the cable company, and then the output is this Ethernet cable with a Ethernet cable. I'll show you that. Here's a typical cable, and every cable, where did it go? There. Every cable has some writing on it, and it tells you what the speed of that cable is, or what type of cable it is. And I could see 5, no, I can't either, but in essence, that's a Cat 5C, I believe is what it's called. So then it goes from a modem into the router.
Yep.
There we go. And the LAN, this is mirrored, sorry about that. This is a router, and that's where the cable from the modem goes into the WAN. Then your output for your local network is this LAN cable. That's another Ethernet cable, and that goes into a switch. And this is a switch. This is a Netgear switch, and I usually put it into number 1 here, and then this is the output for the variety of things. Most of the time when I have a switch, the one I have in the house here is a 24 port switch. When I have that, it provides, I can connect an awful lot of things. I have connections for each room and for wireless access points on the ceiling. And this is a wireless access point. Upside down, yeah. I get a mirrored image here. This is a Cisco, and here's the input for this right here. That's an Ethernet connection. This one is also has PoE capability, power over Ethernet, which is a big benefit. All the professionals, installers encourage PoE capability, which the switch can provide. PoE switches provide power enough to support this device. And it's a IEEE standard, or the electrical engineers designed it. Therefore, you just have the Ethernet cable. Over the cable goes data as well as power. Big plus to have PoE. This wireless access point is dual band, which means it does both the frequencies that Wi-Fi gets transmitted over, and that's 2.4 gigahertz as well as 5 gigahertz. One thing about the router I want to mention, back to it, this router is a ubiquity router, and it's the Wi-Fi system. It's the Wi-Fi system, unified system, and this has a firewall. You set that, it's important to set that so the firewall is always on. My computer has a firewall, and I always make sure that is on. But the reason I have, you don't need 2 of them, but you need 1. So when I take my laptop out, that firewall is always on. So I always keep the firewall on both the router as well as the computer. The cable capabilities include Cat 5, Cat 5e, Cat 6, and here's a Cat7 cable. See, the first word's Cat7. This happens to be a flat one, and it also has the Ethernet connector there. Color makes no difference. Sometimes people like the color connections in a certain way, but it has no indication of what the capability of the cable is. So this is those components that I showed you were all separate. This device is the typical Xfinity, what everybody refers to as a router. But this has multiple capabilities. There's where the cable comes in, just like it went into the modem, the separate modem. This goes into a modem. There's a modem inside. Then there's a router inside. Does a lot of the same features as the router, the Ubiquiti router I showed you. It also has a switch. These are not PoE capable, but it's got 4 devices that can, 4 ports that can provide data to 4 separate devices. And then on top of this, and wrapped around, is an antenna, which is a wireless access point. Don't put these things in the mechanical room or in the laundry room and close it up, or inside a can in the wall, because the wire doesn't work the Wi-Fi doesn't work very well when you do that. My recommendation is you broadly put other Wi-Fi access points in the house. I have 5 on the floor here. It's a wide condo, and I have 5 different access points, so everybody, including our guest, has the opportunity to get on. The device I use for a router is the Unified Dream Machine. This one does not have a modem, so I have a separate modem, but it does have the cable goes in there from the modem that I have, and then it says switch. These are not PoE switches. It has a router inside, and then it has on top here is the wireless access point. Apple, let's see. Apple, on the other hand, used to make these. They don't make them anymore. Airport Extreme, and you had an app called Airport that I used to use, but once they got out of it, I got out of these things too. And this one is very similar to the Dream Machine, except it's got an antenna, it's got switches, and then it's got the connection for the modem. And you had to have a separate modem. There's no modem in here. This one has the ability to provide a NAS, network attached storage device. So we talked about that, and we just talked about the Airport Extreme, which is no longer available. But recently, just a month or 2 ago, the Euro and Euro Pro became a partner with Apple, so that not only they have embedded in the Euro, as well as the Linksys Velop. That's not out yet, very soon to be out. Both are mesh systems. It's the type of Wi-Fi that has developed over the past 2 years, and the product's been out in the field, and they're very successful. And you can put a number of mesh points in your houses, as many as 5 or 6, I think. And then when you integrate them into the system, it's extremely fast and reliable. A lot of good feedback on the Euro and the Linksys. Linksys has been a name for a long time. Euro is only 3 years old. It's interesting because Amazon owns Euro. But those particular ones have the ability to include your Homekit connections. So you'll have Homekit feeders all around the house also, which is a big plus. They're not controllers. but they're very functional. I want to remind people that if you have chat questions, don't forget to type them up and put them in, and we'll handle those very shortly.
There are a few questions. Let me see. Bill Kostet asked a question about 10 minutes ago. What is the name of the device again? And I don't know which one. That was, I think, at the time when you held the Netgear up and maybe another device. So
maybe he could say which, the beginning or the end or the middle. In
Bill,
any case,
could you unmute yourself and ask that question?
At the beginning, the very first device you held, you gave a name and I wasn't quite ready to take it.
it's this guy.
Yes.
That's a modem. It's a modulator demodulator. And this one's built by Aris. This is the standard device. It's already included in the Xfinity or any other multiple capable box. But this one is one that I don't rent. I buy it. You buy them at Amazon or Best Buy. And they may be anywhere from 70 to 110 bucks, depending on what you get. And this is what takes the cable from the street and modulates it and demodulates it into something that your router can deal with. And that's why it's only got the cable in and the Ethernet out. And that's what goes to your router, that Ethernet connection.
Okay, wait, and then Ed Evans had a question. What can you say about the Xfinity parts to extend Wi-Fi around the house?
Yeah, Xfinity has I don't use it, but I've read about it that they have a feature where you can add extenders. And an extender can be wired or it can be go wireless. One of the problems with extenders that go wireless are they often use half of the channels to go, half of the channel capability to go out and then half to come in. So if it says it's a 600 megabit capable device, that means it's only 300 because it's either one way or the other. If you have Ethernet connected, it goes both ways at that 600 capable feature. So when you can connect anything by wire, I encourage you to connect it by wire. Okay, so we're back. Here we
There was one more question.
Yeah.
Let me see. Excuse me. Carl Faust asked the question, does mesh slow down your speed?
Mesh can get, I understand, can get a little glitchy, but the overall feedback is that it's a very good operating system and it works 99% of the time, but every once in a while you can get into glitch. And in the troubleshooting area of this presentation, I'm going to mention that it's always good to turn it off, let it settle down, then turn it on again. It's the #1 troubleshooting effort is to turn it off, turn it on before you start anything else.
And then there was just a comment, I think, from Michael Nolan. He said, just install Eero, but can't tell if it's working. Well, we don't know. I mean, I installed mine a few weeks ago and it started to work right away. It showed first different lights on the units, first a red light and then a blinking green light and eventually just a solid green light, and then it was working. But you can check when you install Eero, and maybe that you should make that comment, you need obviously an iPhone app. And on the iPhone app.
That's right. That's what you use. You use the iPhone. And that's a big change in local area networking is almost all of these new routers, these new devices You go right to the iPhone to set them up. Much easier capability than the old web-based process. And that's how I set up the Ubiquity Dream Machine, is right into the router. I'll show you a little bit about that. Right into the app, and the app connected to the Wi-Fi system. Okay, if that's it, we can continue on, Eckert.
I think so. And
Okay, yeah, we'll stop again.
maybe just one brief comment. Some of you may decide to, for time reasons, leave the meeting before it comes to the end. But I do want to make a comment at the very end of our presentation to reassure all of us that our next Zoom meeting will not be disturbed. I've given it some thoughts, and I know exactly what to do. And at the end of the meeting, I want to explain to you the measures that we're going to take. We'll also repeat those measures in writing. But I just wanted you, those who are in attendance right now, to know that at the end of this meeting, I have a statement ready to make to reassure all of us that we are on a good cause. Thank you.
Echo, can I make a statement at the end of the meeting also? I finally got back in.
Obviously, of course, George. In fact,
Okay, thank you.
of course.
All right. Okay, welcome, George. So wired versus wireless. I'll talk about the wired side first. What are some of the pros and cons? Wired is more secure. There are no radio waves that could be intercepted. It's more reliable because there's no radio interference that could affect it. It's faster, but on the other hand, it's more expensive. And when you have an option of either wired or wireless, always best to wire. And this is a little tip I've learned in the past 10 years. If a condo or a house were built in Southwest Florida, most of the electricians down here have wired the phone, the landline jacks with Ethernet cable. Many of us don't have landlines, and those things sit in the wall. Pop off the cover and you might find an Ethernet cable sitting there that you could connect into your local area network. Wireless, on the other hand, is its installation is much easier. You don't need this big build out that you do with Ethernet. And of course, it's always best, if you're building a condo or a house, always best to put the wires in before the wallboard goes up. But with wireless, back to wireless now, you can take it with you. You could pop that thing out and take out the wireless access points and take them with you. That's not the case with the wire that's in the interior walls. Wireless is a bit slower, and security is a constant, requires constant vigilance. So many almost all situations are in a combination, and this is the one that I lean more to wired than wireless. All my access points are wired. They have switches that provide PoE, power over Ethernet, and therefore I put them up in the ceiling, and the Ethernet cable comes out, and that's all I do is connect it. It's both powered and all the data is connected. I use wired access points that should be in the central room, family room, or whatever you want to call it. In the den, typically that's where a big TV is. In the master bedroom, and also don't forget the garage, because the ability to control garage doors by a Homekit is much enhanced with a wireless access point in the garage, at the garage door opener. Both Chamberlain and, I forgot the other name they're connected with. They all have this capability now. The other thing is newer cars download firmware directly from my access point downstairs, and that's a big plus, keeping up to date on that. But all the R&D money by the manufacturers are invested in wireless. So wireless is king. This is kind of a technical thing, but it's very important. You're going to hear more and more about IP, Internet Protocol. That's the protocol that's used in local area networks and in the World Wide Web overall. Devices that are compatible with being connected have a MAC address. Every device that can be connected has a MAC address. And that MAC address is a 6-position alphanumeric, 6 times 2 is 12 letters or numbers in pairs of 2 that every manufacturer allocates to a device based upon the allocation they get from whoever divvies up MAC addresses. And that's always only that device has that. The other comment about devices is once the device gets connected, once a device that has a MAC address gets connected, it'll have an IP address. And that IP address is what you use to identify that particular device. And I'll show you a few ways you can do that. And when you're troubleshooting, that's a big plus to know what device is having a problem and which ones aren't having a problem. Default IPs for the routers is almost always 192.168.1.1. And I learned this recently. Modems pretty much, if you want to look inside of your modem and get a feel for, there's not a lot of information in there, but you can get a feel for what the standard, how it looks, so that if you have a problem, it could be the modem, and all the transmission rates that you have looked at in the past, all of a sudden there's some that are 0 or at a very low number. You can type in that IP address and you'll get connected directly to the router status. So I want to show you a few aids in doing this, identifying the devices. And the first one is right up here. Can you see my pipper here on my screen?
See what?
Oh.
We see.
Can you see my computer screen?
Yes. Yes.
All right. I'm
Reliable
clicking
home
on.
Yeah.
All right. I'm clicking on the Wi-Fi icon. It's in the toolbar at the top of the operating system. And you click this down and you see a variety of things. And these are this computer is receiving signals from these various SSIDs or the names of the devices, the names of the Wi-Fi systems that I live in a condo. It's got 6 units in the building, 2 on each floor. And some of these are my neighbors and I identify with them. And some of them are other than that. By the way, I have myself with Secure, and I have a guest network I set up, which allows my guests to use the Wi-Fi system, but they can't get into anything other than just get out. They can't feed into anything else. My LAN network is secure for that reason. You can see other things pop up. I live not too far from FGCU campus, and that showed up. This is a printer, but in any case, I wanted to just get out of that. And if you want to turn it off and turn it on, I don't want to do that because I'll probably lose connection. Oh.
Yes.
Are you still with me?
Yes. Don't turn
Okay.
it off.
All right. I know. So when you hit this and you hold the option button down on your keyboard, you get a much bigger set of information. And one of them is this diagnostic, opening wireless diagnostics. I don't want to open it. It takes a number of minutes to set up. It'll provide you with a status report of your wireless system, and it's particularly good if you have a problem. It might give you an indication as to where. But it also added this feature here, and this tells you an IP address, what the address of the router is. I changed mine from 192 to my own system. And then here's the ID of the wireless access points I'm connected to. Here's the channels. And then these are measurements for various strength of the signal. That's one feature. And then the other, how do I get out of this? I can't get in my toolbar because this, well, that'll be that. In any case, here's a more complicated system. This is an app that is on the iOS. A lot of information here, but suffice it to say where my pipper is. Here's the network name. And by the way, every access point has at least 2 transmissions band on 2.4 gigahertz, which is this, the slower but longer distance band, and then 5 gigahertz, which is the faster but shorter band, and 5 has the most throughput. So most of the time, the router pins you to a 5 gigahertz band. And this is the signal strength, but this is the SSID. It's called broadcast SSID because these are all wireless access points. And then my neighbors are over here on the left. This comment about hidden, let me make a point about that. Hidden doesn't do anything for you. And it's no benefit to you other than you hide the name of your SSID. But the hackers can get into that so easily that it's not even worth. Always name it. But this person here, I know who that is. That's not a good name. Don't put your own name on because then a hacker will have no question. They'll know exactly who they're connected to. Come up with some other ones I have. My northern one is FBI van. And people always in the neighborhood ask, who's FBI van? I don't know. So, so I think that pretty much there's the bands that you have. And then this is a depiction of all down at the bottom of all the capabilities, what the strengths of each of them are. And this is the one that's connected. And you can see that's mine. So that's called Wi-Fi Explorer. It wants to send me a report. I don't need that report. And oh, finally, LAN scan is this guy. This is this report will give you the MAC address that we talked about and the internet protocol address. Once I scan, I'm scanning the LAN here, and I have down at the bottom right 43 devices that are connected, and it gives you that MAC ID, and that's very good before you got to do troubleshooting. And I name some of them I don't name. They come out of the device itself and who made them and so on. LAN scan, it's the one with the duck on it. Okay, now we're back into this. And troubleshooting, I got a couple of slides on troubleshooting. First thing is turn it off and turn it on. Any device you have, turn it off, turn it on. Make sure the power is connected, by the way. And make sure that it may well pop up, and that includes Wi-Fi antennas. Verify that you're on the right network, especially with home automation equipment. Most of the time, they're only 2.4 gigahertz, and when you're trying to connect to it on your phone, the phone does not differentiate between 2.4 and 5. It'll pick what it wants, and you can't change it. Therefore, you got to get a dual band and try to trick it to get on and off, and try it a few times, and eventually it will hook up at the 2.4 gigahertz. And once you're connected to a dual band, it'll stay on that 2.4 gigahertz side of the Wi-Fi, the antenna. I mentioned the diagnostics, and there are best practices that come out of that. That's the next slide, but that diagnostic thing can be very beneficial in troubleshooting. Always make sure you run the latest OS up on the upper left of your Mac computer. You hit the Apple, and it'll say, I forget what, let me see if I can get it for you. Right here, and about this Mac, and then about this Mac shows Catalina, and it said, I check this, and it says, do I need your Mac is up to date. So that's how you check whether or not you're up to date or not. Check the hardware, the cables, and the integrity. I guess the point there is, as you see this, well, you're probably not seeing that, but just make sure that all the connections that are put into each device are secure. Wiggle them a little bit. Make sure the power is connected properly, both the inputs and the outputs. Sometimes switches get kinked a little bit, and they may cause a problem. If it's a PoE switch and you're using it that way, if something goes isn't connected properly, especially if you have a connection in the middle of that line, it'll turn the power off and it won't work because it's power over Ethernet. This last comment is DNS, changing the DNS. And this is something that I do want to show you, because when you have a slow system, and you're trying to load an app, or you're trying to load a website, and the line starts and goes about a third of the way and sits there, more often than not, it's the domain name server setting. So I just clicked, I hope you all can see that I clicked on my toolbar icon for the Wi-Fi, and then I go down to open network preferences. You can get into that by going to system preferences and into network. And then this is the network preferences on the system preference connection. And then I hit that because I got a touch ID. And then I go into here, advanced. And this has, these are all the networks I have connected to recently, and I have a lot of them. I travel a bit, and oh, there's my FBI van. That FBI van IoT means I'm on the 2.4 gigahertz on that one. But here's DNS, domain name server. And normally it gets populated with whatever the ISP domain name servers are. And often that gets for some reason it gets clogged up. I did some research and I found out that Google has domain name servers of 8.8.8.8 and 8.8.4.4. And those are very stable. They're public, but no one else can get in. And then this 1.1.1.1 is, I think that's Intel's new server capability. And I've used those, and it's been steady as can be for at least 2 years since I put them in. So that's domain name server. And we'll get back here into the next one. Get caught up here. Oh, I'm going to go back into one thing here. This down here on the right, I don't know if you could see that on my computer. This is Onyx. And Onyx is like housekeeping for your Mac. And it does a variety of things very swiftly. Okay. Now this is, I gotta get out of that. We don't need that. This is the access for Onyx, and I drop down and it verifies this, does a bunch of these things. First time it'll take you an hour or so. And after that, it takes about from 10 to 20 minutes at the most. And it really cleans up your computer. It does a whole variety of things of rebuilding a bunch of it. And the Spotlight Index you can rebuild there. I keep that off because it takes a little longer if I do that. It handles the mailboxes, etc. Does system cleaning, applications, internet. This is a wonderful thing, and it's available on the App Store right there. So best practices. Did we do this? No, we didn't do this one. Make sure you got a unique SSID. I talked about that earlier. Don't put your name in there, and don't put your house address in there. Don't use hidden. The third one was, I talked about that. These are Apple recommendations. Use WPA2 personal security. You don't need the enterprise one, just WPA2 personal when you're setting up your router. Use strong passwords, 1Password or keychain. Use the 5 gigahertz band. This is Apple's recommendation. It's faster and less interference, but doesn't go through walls very well. It can get obstructed, but when you can, use that because it's fast. And but on the other hand, dual band wireless access points, pick what they think is best. Channel selection, and sometimes, you know, especially with 2.4 gigahertz, there's 11 channels, 1 through 11. And it used to be that you had to pick, you'd look at a chart like I had in my neighbors, you know, you didn't want to overlap one of theirs, forget it. Just set it up for automatic and it's much faster. Okay. Eckhart, any?
There were no questions since the last time, Wayne.
There is no questions. Okay, then we'll just, is this thing look good, Eckhart? Is it going okay?
Yeah, it looks great, yes.
Okay. So I want to mention the big changes that are taking place, and they're substantial. 5G, Wi-Fi 6, and ATSC 3. 5G is the 5th generation of cellular wireless. It's not quite ready for prime time. It'll start kicking in later this year, and in 2021, it'll probably be 22 by the time we all have 5G antennas in our houses. And this is, I want to mention this. I think my sense is once 5G gets going, the antennas have to be very local. You can't put up an antenna like you see the cell towers. Now you have to have at least 10 times more antennas than one cell tower. But if you have a receiver on your house, an antenna that receives that signal, that 5G signal, that'll go right into your router and you'll be able to use, you don't have to have a cable anymore. And that's what's going to happen. I probably would like to play about 4 minutes of this thing. This gives you a good idea of what 5G
rolls out over the next 2 years.
You hear that?
Change
Yes.
Yes.
with a wireless connection, which at this point is, well, pretty much everything. So what's so special about a 5G future? Well, first of all, it's fast, like really fast, like 20 gigabits per second over wireless fast, like 100 to 250 times faster than 4G. Because by comparison, 4G provides speeds on average of about 10 to 20 megabits a second. So that's like going from streaming one Netflix movie in HD to streaming 400 movies in 8K at the same time. And while that's really impressive, that's not the most impressive part. What sets 5G aside is its crazy low latency rate, which is the amount of delay between the sending and receiving of information. Now, 4G tends to average about 100 to 200 milliseconds. And to be fair, 100 milliseconds is fast. Human reaction time is about 200 to 300 milliseconds. But 5G will get it down to 1 millisecond. That's almost real time. And being able to send and receive information in what is essentially real time means that we can use 5G to replace real-time interactions. What does that mean? With 5G, you'll be able to interact with people, objects, or characters controlled by someone else with no lag on either side. So play a real-time first-person shooter on your
Just jump
handset.
ahead here.
Better yet, let it drive itself. That might be one of the biggest breakthroughs in 5G, a network of self-driving cars all sending data between each other and communicating with traffic lights, road sensors, aerial drones, and so on. Think about it. Human reaction speed is 200 milliseconds, and we still have accidents every day. Imagine if your car could react and communicate its reaction to hundreds of cars around it, all within a millisecond. Not only could we end car accidents, we could end traffic altogether. Hundreds of self-driving cars going lightning fast to your destination with no risk that they'll hit each other because they all know exactly where they are in real time, reacting to the actual world around them. Autonomous or remotely controlled trains, delivery trucks, even airplanes could be on the horizon in the near future. In fact, forget cars for a second and think of all robotic devices. Surgeries could be performed from the other side of the world with robots controlled in real time by expert surgeons being assisted by other expert surgeons in other parts of the world simultaneously. That could be saving lives in situations where time and distance are the difference between life and death. Factories can be staffed by robots that can communicate their tasks and position to each other, allowing them to not only do more, but do it more efficiently and wirelessly over a 5G network. Imagine a fleet of drones flying over a field of crops using sensors on the ground to sort, pick, feed, and water individual plants all on their own. 5G will revolutionize.
So I wanted to show you that part because that really gives you a good depiction of what we can expect with 5G. This is I had a film here about Cisco engineers explaining what they've seen, how Wi-Fi 6 works and how it's going to integrate with 5G, but basically it says it right there. Indoors, we'll be working with Wi-Fi 6, which would connect very quickly to the 5G network cellular. Y'all, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I won't get through that one. Now,
Questions while you get ready for the next thing. I think Betty Larson asked a question, elementary question, how and where do you change SSID name?
how do you change an SSID? It's by your router, and you go into the router and you can change the name of that every router has a different approach, but you can rename of course, when you rename a Wi-Fi SSID, its name, you got to make sure every device that connects to it, you're going to have to deal with again, because everyone that uses it is going to have to be changed, including all of your HomeKit stuff. So be very careful about that, and remember that it has a negative effect. You can add an extra Wi-Fi and try it and then deal with it, and then maybe phase in that way, extra Wi-Fi SSID.
And then,
Okay.
then Mitchell Bryce suggested a good idea, I think, to please post the link of the video so that we can all look at that video that we just saw, I guess, on G5. Post it. Not right now. We can do that later, I think. Huh?
Okay.
And then one question was, is Onyx only for Mac?
Yes, I think it's, no, maybe not. No, I think they expanded it. It was developed only for Mac, but I remember reading something recently that it can work with Windows also. You'll just have to get on the Onyx website. The interesting thing that I heard about ATSC, I remember a number of years ago, maybe 15 years ago, when we all had to go through a transition when they went from analog to digital television. This is the association that of broadcasters as well as people that make equipment get together and come up with new standards that the government approves. And this ATSC 3.0 is a game changer. And I've got a video here that I'd like to show you about 3 minutes.
Television broadcasters are leading the way with a new system that will merge the capabilities of over-the-air broadcasting with the internet. 2 decades ago, the Advanced Television Systems Committee celebrated the FCC's adoption of the first all-digital over-the-air TV standard. It offered pristine, high-definition video delivered in the same 6 megahertz channel once needed for black and white, and then color TV. Now broadcasters are evolving to meet the needs of today's viewers and advertisers. This next-generation broadcast platform merges the best capabilities of over-the-air and broadband viewing. The result is a convergence of the most popular method of watching live events with the variety of programming available online. ATSC 3.0 is designed from the ground up to be all of those things. A next-generation transmission system that can deliver 4K Ultra HD images with high dynamic range, plus interactive features and multi-channel immersive audio. ATSC 3.0 is the world's first broadcast standard built on an internet protocol backbone. This offers the advantage of both broadcast and broadband. Designed to integrate with internet-delivered content, ATSC 3.0 will present viewers with more streams, more choices, more channels, and more flexibility. The system takes advantage of new technology with advanced video and audio compression and more robust modulation. Responding to the needs of broadcasters, this new broadcast platform is exceptionally robust, adaptable for single-frequency network transmission systems that can overcome physical challenges to deliver TV deep inside buildings and on the go. The result is better indoor reception and wide coverage for mobile devices. ATSC 3.0's advanced emergency alerting is designed to wake up sleeping devices, alert families of impending emergencies, and provide a rich variety of video, text, audio, and graphic information when it's needed most. New audience measurement tools come with ATSC 3.0, and the new system can also be a pipeline for delivering data to the car, to mobile devices, and to the home. ATSC 3.0 is built for a variety of receiving devices too. New gateway receivers will deliver over-the-air TV to existing tablets and smart TVs through Wi-Fi. Mobile devices and TV sets equipped with ATSC 3.0 receivers will make TV available virtually anywhere. That's all great news for viewers who will find it easier than ever to tune in to live TV broadcasts anywhere, anytime. For advertisers, ATSC 3.0's advanced advertising features include interactive and
the rollout is beginning. I mean, that's exciting stuff, and all the activities that the world is focused on have kind of smothered this concept. But essentially, the 2020 televisions that usually roll out in June will have that ATSC 3.0 capability. But not all the cities will have it. They're starting in Portland, Maine, and one other city, I think Kansas City, and then they're going to phase in. I think the schedule I saw with the Fort Myers would get it sometime in the first half of next year. But it connects right into your internet and into your LAN network, and it's going to make it very easy to get high quality, free television. I have a device called HD Home Run that really that they're going to modify. I'm sure they'll have a new product out that'll take that information, and you'll be able to put it right up on your television and maybe pay nothing for most of what you need to watch. It will connect to the IP. network system. So all that means is soon to be extinct is this right here. These things are soon to be, not soon, in 1, 2, 3, 4 years, these will be gone. And you're going to go right from the cable device that you got into your television type of device like Apple TV. Once you get the Apple TV on, you're going to download apps, and those apps provide you with all the entertainment in the same way that you do with the remote button that you have now. Hopefully Apple will fix its remote for the Apple TV by the time we get to that. Apps, as I mentioned, will be replacing the set-top boxes. There's really going to be no need for a cable man, and that's what all of these cable companies are doing. They're cutting way down on that business. They're pricing the cable products much higher, the TV cable products much higher, so that they drive the people out. And we'll all be using Roku's or Apple TVs or Fire TVs to get the information directly into our networks. And it'll go to iOS devices. I already use this down at that last comment, anywhere. I use my Xfinity, it's part of the Homeowners Association, my subscription here, and I download on my Apple TV up north the apps for all the national type of transmissions, which include that I commit to down here, and I can get them up north in my northern home directly. I don't have to rebuy it a second time. That feature is very beneficial and saves a lot of money. I have been subscribing to Sling TV, but there are certain things I want, and I can get them, if they're on Xfinity down here, I can get them up there. Other than the colloquial stuff, when you're talking about the local channels, I can't get them up there. The Fort Myers channels, Naples channels. So this is not part of network TV. This is a part of network TV, but this thing here, this website is called cordcuttersnews.com. Click on that. And this is a wonderful source for knowing what's going on, what the latest deals are. A few days ago, I saw Showtime extended its trial period from 7 days to 30 days. So I've been enjoying Showtime for free now for the next 30 days. And all kinds of things. They have, let's see. Here they compare services, and they compare Netflix to Hulu, Prime to Netflix, Prime Video, and so on and so forth. And this one here, I'll show you an example of shortly. Get out of this. Get back into this. And here's all the ones that are available as of the end of March. AT&T now just came on. YouTube TV has got a whole TV, it's a competitor to AT&T now. The Vidgo is a newer one, has a lot of features. Philo has been around for a while. Hulu has been one of the big competitors. Sling TV was the first. I saw them at the CES show about 7 years ago, and they've grown ever since. Fubo is mainly sports, but it has a broad base of entertainment also. So here's a chart, and this came out at the end of March. This show, and this was on Cord Cutter News. It was that last one that I had pointed to on that drop down. And this shows you what your opportunities are, the ones I just had enumerated, and then what they provide. If it's no X in there, they're not going to have that capability. Of course, this changes also. Depends upon the contracts that they have. But for example, Sling TV, you click on that and it goes right to the Sling TV website and gives you a whole variety of information free for 7 days. So, oh, before I finish, I want to mention this. So many of the presentations that we have are focused on security and on safety. And my wife said she wanted to create a special antivirus device to support Naples Mac user group to be safe and secure. And that's it. Naples antivirus. There's one other thing I got to show you before we leave. And
Are those available?
yeah, no, my wife did that. She's been doing them for hospitals. And I said, can you put Naples Mac user group on it? She said, yeah, but it cost me.
Okay.
I'll do that again. Oh no, this is the wrong one.
No. Baby Mike. Jack, come here.
I thought that was good.
Okay.
So that concludes the presentation.
I just wanted to make a couple of remarks that it was a very disgusting thing that happened, and I really apologize. And that's the first time I've ever seen anything like that in my entire life. And it was really, really disgusting and very, very embarrassing that it was done to us. And I want to apologize, and we'll do everything we can to make sure that never happens again. And I want to thank all of you that came back and joined the meeting, and thanks Wayne for a great meeting.
I'm also deeply sorry for what happened to us today. I had read in the media that something like that was happening to others. And of course, I had hoped that it would not happen to us. And again, I share deeply the apology that George just mentioned. On the other hand, I'm a very positive person. I've been positive all my life, and I don't take defeats very easily. In fact, I would try to avoid defeats. I think we reacted quickly. We left the meeting, and what we did right after, when you rejoined, we created a waiting room. So, and then we admitted every single person individually after checking the name. Is that person someone we know? And had the hackers come again, we would not have admitted them. I believe the answer to avoid situations like that is as follows. I believe we need to continue to pre-register and for our Wednesday meetings. And when I say pre-register, do not register 5 minutes before the meeting. Please register sometime in advance, because then if everybody is pre-registered, I can print out a list of registered people. And when you join the meeting, you will be taken into a waiting room, and I can look at your name in the waiting room and see, is your name on the list? And I think that should hopefully avoid these embarrassing events in the future. We will put these recommendations in writing so that you're all aware of our procedure, how we will adapt to this unfortunate situation. But again, I'm very positive. We are an exciting computer club. I think we should all be very happy that we have these Wednesday meetings. We just had shared an excellent presentation from Wayne. I'm particularly grateful that Wayne was not distracted by all of that and was able to show us some very, very exciting, interesting new things that we should be expecting in the near future. So again, I think as a computer club, we have now direct knowledge of what hackers can do. That's embarrassing again, but I think we've tried our very best to protect ourselves coming next Wednesday. So stay with me.
Can I say one other thing?
Sure.
The meeting next week, I was hoping that Bob Kennedy
I'm
was
there.
going to join us. Oh, here he is. Great. Can you talk about your meeting next week, Bob?
Yeah, next week I will be sharing you my experience with the most majestic national park in the country, Yosemite. I visited it twice, and I will narrate my slideshow with two intentions. One would be that you feel as if you were there, and the second, that you definitely start the urge to go there. So I hope to see you all next week without incident in this meeting.
Thank you, Bob. Eckert, do you have anything else?
No, I think we've said enough about it.